At 11:42 on a Tuesday night, a phone screen lights up with an email most people hate reading. Your automatic payment could not be processed. It is not a huge bill. It is not a disaster on paper. It is $84. But the feeling that follows lands like an emergency, because the real problem is not the charge. The real problem is what the charge exposes. One small interruption, one delay, one badly timed expense, and the whole month starts shaking. That is what financial instability usually looks like. Not a cinematic collapse, not a dramatic bankruptcy scene. Just a life that appears completely normal from the outside, but has no room inside it, no margin, no time, no cash buffer, no breathing space. And that is why minimalist money rules matter. Not because minimalism is trendy, not because frugality is romantic, not because you are supposed to feel guilty for wanting comfort. Minimalist money matters because stability is almost never created by complexity. It is created by removing pressure points. It is built by lowering the number of things that can go wrong at the same time. A financially stable person is not always the person with the highest income. Sometimes it is the person with the quietest system, the person whose rent is manageable, whose car is paid off or modest, whose savings account exists for ugly surprises, whose spending is visible, whose obligations do not multiply faster than their paycheck. That is the real shift. Financial stability is not a luxury aesthetic. It is an engineering problem. You are designing a life that can survive friction, and the rules that make that possible are rarely flashy. They do not look impressive on social media. They do not give you the rush of a sudden win. They are boring, disciplined, sometimes even a little unspectacular. But when life gets expensive, boring is powerful. The first rule is this: protect the gap. The gap between what you earn and what it costs to be you is the most important number in your life. Not your salary, not your hourly rate, not even your net worth at first. The gap. The space left over after your life is paid for. Two people can earn very different amounts and live in completely opposite realities. One person makes $5,000 a month and spends $3,200. Another makes $9,000 and spends $8,600. On paper, the second person looks more successful. In practice, the first person is harder to break. That gap is where your emergency fund comes from. It is where your future rent increase gets absorbed. It is where your dentist bill, your plane ticket home, your dead laptop battery, your unpaid week off, and your random repair live before they become a crisis. Without that gap, every problem becomes personal. Every expense feels insulting. Every delay feels threatening. You start needing your month to go perfectly, and life almost never does. So minimalist money begins with a simple decision. Your lifestyle does not get to consume your full income. It never gets all of it. Some part of what you earn must remain unclaimed. That sounds obvious until real life gets involved. A nicer apartment because you work hard. A more expensive car because you are tired of driving something basic. Better clothes, better tech, more delivery, more subscriptions, more little upgrades that each seem harmless on their own. And then one day you realize your income did rise, but your freedom did not. If you want to stay financially stable, protect the gap like it is oxygen, because it is. The second rule is harsher and more powerful. Keep fixed costs brutally low. Most people spend too much time worrying about small variable spending and not enough time respecting the permanent bills. They will agonize over a $12 lunch and then casually sign a car payment that follows them for 6 years. They will feel guilty about coffee and ignore the apartment they can barely afford. But fixed costs are what decide whether your life is resilient or fragile. Rent or mortgage, car payment, insurance, debt payments, phone plans, streaming bundles, financing agreements. Your storage units, subscription software. Those are the bills that wake up every month with full confidence that they will be fed. And when too many of them stack up, your paycheck stops belonging to you before you even touch it. This is why minimalist money is often less about cutting pleasure and more about refusing commitments. A cheaper recurring life beats a luxurious recurring life almost every time. because the recurring life determines how much pressure your future self lives under. The decision is not just, can I afford this today? The decision is, do I want this bill to become part of my identity? That is an entirely different question. A person with low fixed costs can recover from bad months. A person with high fixed costs needs good months just to stay in place. That is not stability. That is dependency disguised as success. So if you want to simplify your money, start where it matters most: housing, transportation, debt. Those 3 categories can quietly control your whole life. Get those wrong, and no budgeting app in the world will save you. Get those mostly right, and everything else becomes easier. The third rule is the one people skip because it feels too basic. Build cash before you chase optimization. There is a certain kind of financial advice that loves speed, leverage, and efficiency. Put everything to work. Invest every extra dollar. Maximize returns. Never let cash sit idle. That sounds smart until your car dies on a Thursday, or your hours get cut, or your landlord decides to raise the rent, or you get sick. In those moments, the most powerful asset in your life is not theory, it is accessible cash. Cash is not exciting, but it buys something almost no one talks about enough: time. It buys you the ability to think before reacting. It gives you a few days, a few weeks, maybe a few months, in which life does not get to bully you into bad decisions. That matters more than people realize. When you have no buffer, you say yes to desperate choices: bad loans, panicked withdrawals, selling things you should not have to sell, accepting terms you hate because you need immediate relief. Financial instability does not just cost money, it steals decision quality. Minimalist money says the first layer of wealth is not appearance, it is response time. You need an emergency fund, not a symbolic one, a real one. Enough to cover the kind of problems that are common, inconvenient, and expensive: a broken appliance, an unexpected trip, a deductible, a gap in income. A repair that does not care how disciplined you were last month. The exact number will vary, but the principle does not. Before your money becomes ambitious, it must become defensive. The fourth rule is deceptively simple. Make your money easy to see. Confusion is expensive. People lose money in darkness, in half-remembered subscriptions, in vague credit card balances, in accounts they rarely open, in auto-renewals they forgot about. In the sentence, "I think I can still afford it." A minimalist money system is visible by design. You know what comes in, you know what must go out, you know what remains, you know where your emergency savings live, you know which account pays bills, you know how much you can spend without checking 5 apps and guessing. That does not require a complicated financial dashboard. Usually it requires the opposite. One account for income, one for fixed bills, one for spending, one for savings and investing, automation where possible, friction where necessary, fewer cards, fewer moving parts, fewer chances to lie to yourself. Because that is often what complexity becomes: a way to delay the truth. When money is visible, your decisions get cleaner. You stop treating surprise spending like fate when it was really a system problem. You stop acting shocked by patterns that repeat every month. You stop confusing hope with math, and that is when money gets calmer. The fifth rule is not glamorous, but it is non-negotiable. Kill high-interest debt like a house fire. There are some financial burdens that are annoying, and then there are some that quietly eat your future for breakfast. High-interest consumer debt belongs in the second category. It changes the meaning of every paycheck. It makes ordinary life more expensive than it should be. It turns your past impulses into monthly taxes. It punishes you for needing time. And worst of all, it normalizes helplessness, because minimum payments are designed to feel manageable while keeping the real problem alive. This is why people can earn decent money and still feel trapped. They are not only paying for today, they are paying interest on yesterday. If you want financial stability, there are very few situations where carrying expensive debt is compatible with peace. It is one of the clearest leaks in the system. It deserves focus, intensity, and honesty. That might mean pausing aggressive investing for a season, selling something you do not need, cutting spending harder than feels comfortable, taking temporary extra work, choosing discomfort now so the debt does not keep renting space in your life. Because once that pressure is gone, something changes fast. Your cash flow improves, your stress drops, your options widen. The same paycheck suddenly behaves like a different paycheck. People call that discipline. In reality, it is often just removing a weight that should never have been there that long. The sixth rule is where minimalist money becomes deeply practical. Buy fewer obligations, not just fewer things. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in personal finance. People think saving money is about paying less at the register. Often it is more important to ask what the purchase will demand from you after the register. A thing is rarely just a thing. A car can become insurance, maintenance, tires, fuel, repairs, parking, cleaning, registration, and a monthly payment. A larger home can become heating, cooling, furniture, repairs, taxes, and the subtle pressure to fill it. A cheap gadget can become accessories, upgrades, replacements, and subscriptions. Even convenience can become a recurring bill if you turn it into a habit fast enough. So the minimalist question is not only, how much does this cost? It is, what chain of future costs does this begin? That question protects you from lifestyle creep better than willpower ever will, because financial instability is often not caused by one huge mistake. It is caused by too many little doors opening at once. Every new obligation reduces flexibility. Every recurring expense narrows your margin. Every financed comfort asks your future self to keep working for a decision your past self made in 10 minutes. Minimalist money says, be careful what you invite into your monthly life. Ownership is not neutral. It has a maintenance cost, an attention cost, and often an emotional cost too. The seventh rule is more psychological than mathematical. Identify your expensive emotions. Most bad money decisions do not happen because people cannot do arithmetic. They happen because people want relief, stress relief, boredom relief, status relief, loneliness relief, reward relief. A rough week turns into impulsive spending because buying something feels like movement. A hard month turns into overeating, overspending, over-ordering, over-upgrading, because the mind wants a signal that life is not only pressure, comparison makes it worse, and someone else appears to be living well, and suddenly your own choices feel small. This is where minimalist money becomes honest. You are not just managing dollars, you are managing states. If you do not know which feelings trigger your spending, your budget will always feel mysteriously fragile. You will think your problem is numbers when your real problem is timing. You spend when you are tired. You spend when you are frustrated. You spend when you want to prove something. You spend when you want to feel less stuck. So build distance between emotion and purchase. Wait a day before buying non-essentials. Wait a week for bigger wants. Put items in a cart and leave them there. Notice what loses its charm when the feeling passes. That pause is not punishment. It is protection. Because the ability to delay an urge is often the hidden engine of financial stability. The eighth rule sounds less exciting than investing, but it saves more lives. Prepare for irregular expenses before they arrive. One of the strangest habits people have is calling predictable costs unexpected. Birthdays happen every year. Car maintenance happens, school fees happen, holiday travel happens, renewals happen, home repairs happen, annual subscriptions happen, medical copays happen, gifts, registrations, seasonal clothing, minor emergencies, and boring logistical costs happen. None of that is shocking. It is only shocking when your budget pretends the year contains 12 identical months. Minimalist money solves this with sinking funds. Small amounts set aside on purpose for categories that are not monthly but are absolutely real. Maybe it is $50 a month for car expenses, maybe $30 for gifts, maybe a little more for travel, insurance deductibles, or home maintenance. The amount matters less than the habit, because when those bills arrive and the money is already waiting, something remarkable happens. The event stays inconvenient, but it does not become destabilizing. That is the whole goal. Financially unstable people are often forced to treat normal life like an ambush. Financially stable people slowly turn ambushes back into appointments. The 9th rule is underrated because it sounds almost too simple. Know your survival number. If your income dropped tomorrow, how much would it cost to keep the lights on, stay housed, eat decently, move through the world, and meet your essential obligations? Not your ideal lifestyle. Not your aspirational budget, your survival number. Most people do not know it. They know their income, they know a few big bills, but they do not know the exact monthly cost of keeping their life standing. That ignorance is dangerous. When you know your survival number, you make better decisions faster. You understand how much emergency savings actually protects you. You know how much runway you have. You can judge job offers more clearly. You can spot when your lifestyle is becoming too heavy. You stop saying, "I just need more money," and start asking, "How much life am I carrying right now?" That number also changes your stress. Vague fear is harder to handle than precise reality. A hard number can be planned around. A cloud of anxiety cannot. Minimalist money is not only about spending less. It is about defining enough with enough precision that your brain can stop inventing monsters in the dark. The 10th rule is where higher income finally becomes useful. When your earnings grow, do not let your lifestyle expand at the same speed. This is where a lot of people lose the game after appearing to win it. They get the raise, the better role, the bigger contract, the extra clients. For a moment, there is genuine relief. Then the upgrades begin. A better apartment, a different car, more dining out, more convenience, better everything. And within a year, the old pressure returns wearing nicer clothes. That is lifestyle inflation. And it is one of the most socially acceptable forms of self-sabotage. Minimalist money does not say never enjoy your progress. It says capture part of every improvement before your habits eat it. When income rises, direct a portion automatically towards savings, debt payoff, investing, or future goals before the new money becomes emotionally available. That one habit changes entire decades. Because raises are not just chances to spend more. They are chances to increase the gap, to increase resilience, to shorten the time needed to build a buffer, remove debt, or buy future freedom. If every increase in income is matched by an increase in obligation, then your standard of living may rise, but your standard of stability may not, and stability is the point. The 11th rule is less about math and more about values. Choose peace over performance. A lot of people build money systems that look smart and feel exhausting. Too many accounts, too many rules, too many apps, too much optimization. They are always reorganizing, always recalculating, always trying to squeeze maximum efficiency out of every dollar while the system itself becomes one more source of fatigue. But a financial system you cannot maintain is not intelligent. It is decorative. The best money system is usually not the most impressive one. It is the one you can repeat when you are busy, stressed, tired, distracted, or discouraged. The one that still works in a messy month. The one that does not require perfect motivation. This is why minimalist money matters so much. It removes opportunities for self-sabotage. It reduces the number of decisions. It makes the right behavior more automatic and the wrong behavior more visible. Simple bills, simple accounts, simple savings targets, simple rules for buying, simple awareness of what matters and what does not. That simplicity is not laziness. It is elegance. It is respect for the fact that your attention is finite, your energy is finite, and your life is not supposed to feel like a permanent money emergency. And that leads to the final rule, the one underneath all the others. Define financial stability correctly. Financial stability is not the feeling of looking wealthy. It is not the ability to spend freely for a month. It is not the illusion created by debt, by financing, by buy now pay later convenience, by a high income trapped inside high obligations. Real financial stability is quieter than that. It is the ability to absorb friction without panic. It is having bills you can carry, savings you can reach, and a life that does not require perfection to remain intact. It is having enough margin that one bad week does not become a bad year. It is being able to make decisions from thought instead of fear. It is knowing that if something breaks, the rest of your life does not have to break with it. And that is why minimalist money works. Because it is not really about deprivation, it is about structural calm. It asks you to stop building a life that looks expensive and start building one that is hard to destabilize. It asks you to notice that the most underrated luxury in modern life is not visible consumption. It is financial quiet. Bills that do not terrify you. Savings that exist. Debt that does not own your future. A monthly life with enough empty space inside it to absorb reality. Go back to that phone screen from the beginning, the failed payment, the tiny crack that suddenly felt bigger than the number itself. Now imagine a different version of that moment. The charge hits. You notice it, you fix it. Maybe it annoys you, maybe it delays something, but it does not shake your identity. It does not trigger panic. It does not hijack the rest of your week. That is the goal. Not to become emotionally numb, not to become miserly, not to spend your whole life optimizing cents. The goal is to become steady, to build a life where money is still important but no longer dramatic, where your paycheck serves your system instead of rescuing it, where enough is actually enough, where simplicity is not a sacrifice but a form of protection. And in a world built to keep you overstretched, overcommitted, and one payment away from anxiety, that kind of protection is not small. It is freedom.